ahead of ourselves, let's talk about our first player of the week of the year. And it's a bit of a redemption story that we're going to be having tonight. It's going to be Pymatuning Valley's Jace Folkman, who is going to be our first player of the week. Jace, come on over, have a seat.
Thank you, Sammy.
You're welcome. So Jace is going to join the show. You're basically christening the ship as the first student involved on the show. And
Yep.
what a big week you guys had over there in
Yeah.
Pymatuning Valley. Starting off 1-0 against a team that, maybe you guys felt like you left some questions out there on the
Yeah.
ground last year. Let's talk a little bit about that game and what it meant to you guys, because, all the way from the combine, I've seen you guys have been pumped up, including, just
Oh
taking home
yeah.
just about every trophy I made.
Yeah. Last year's game or this year's game?
Let's talk about last year's game.
So last year's game, it was kind of the same thing. We expected them to pass over top, and then they did it twice on my side in the end, and it really was my fault in the end. I should have just played back, and I shouldn't have intercepted it or tried to intercept it. Should have just swatted it down. Been told that 100 times.
Coach Neil Croston is
Oh
watching
yeah.
the show right now and
Yep.
smiling as it worked in your favor this year.
Yes, it did. And then not just Neil, but thanks Neil for helping me out a lot. But Coach Freeman especially, our DB coach, Coach Mead, Coach Andrew. We have a bunch of coaches.
So,
Coach Rutt.
we talked enough about last year. Obviously, you guys lose an absolute heartbreaker
Yeah.
in week one. You went down to Mineral Ridge. Now the
Yeah.
Rams had to invade one of the loudest, proudest groups
Mhm.
of fans in all of Northeast Ohio. I'll tell you one thing you're going to hear when you go to Andover. The cowbells be ringing.
Oh
The
yeah.
crowd will be yelling, and any sort of legal noise is going to be made there. It
love
is
it.
high
I
school
love it.
football at its best.
Yes, sir.
The Rams had to come into Andover this year. What was the attitude for you guys coming into this
We
game?
wanted to give it to them straight when that ball left that tee. We wanted to give it to them. Like we didn't want them to feel like they had a chance to come back. Like last year, it shouldn't have been close. So we had to play our hardest. Make sure that didn't happen, and that's exactly what did happen. And I'm glad that Ryan is good and all my other teammates. They're always there for me. They're always encouraging me to work harder, and then I'm always doing the same for them. It's definitely hard teamwork. They definitely push me.
Yeah, when you talk about PV football, I think it's really easy to talk about the two-headed monster that is that running back field,
Yeah.
Ryan Croston and Ty Vickery, who, by the way, folks, they also had themselves a night. This
Yes,
wasn't a
sir.
night where they were quiet, but
Mm-mm.
you found a way to separate yourself from the pack this year, including 80 yards off the kickoff.
Yeah.
What was going on there? Because, I think there's been a thought where, the style that PV plays out there, it's kind of punch you in the mouth.
Yes.
They don't really think speed as much.
Yeah.
But you guys have surprised people, not just this year, but last year with winning the fastest team at the combine. So is that something you guys, take to heart, or,
Oh,
or
yeah.
what goes
Oh,
on
yeah.
with the speed? Because, you Lakers have learned to move.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I don't know where we get the speed from, but it is amazing because it's Braden Chenault's first year, and he's trying to learn his best, but he has the kid's fast. The kid's fast. I'll say that. But yeah.
Yeah, so you play wide receiver and defensive back.
Yep.
Wide
And slot a little
receiver
bit.
maybe not used as much
Yeah.
in
Definitely
that
not.
type of offense, but I think teams go against PV and they get very comfortable and maybe ahead of themselves a little bit in their ability to pass. But you guys seem to
Yeah.
take that ball out of the air a lot.
Yep.
What goes on as a defensive back as a Laker?
You got to be focused on the game. That's it. You got to be focused on your guy. You can't be thinking about the backfield. You can't be looking at the quarterback. You got to be looking at your guy. You don't want to be losing your focus on anything else, because as soon as that ball's in the air, you got to be ready to smack it, because if not,
You're going to get head tapped.
Yeah, you let up a score. Ain't nothing you could do about that. It's not going to end good. That's all I could say.
So, as a defensive back, in the schedule that you guys play in the NAC and being Division 6, I think the makeup of those teams a lot of the time is a very run heavy,
Yeah.
big guys up front, 3 yards in a cloud of dust type of deal. How do you keep yourself involved in the game as a defensive back?
You got to be prepared for anything, because you look at receivers and slots, they're a lot smaller than the running back in that backfield. So you see that dude coming running at you. You don't want to always ankle bite, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do, But you just gotta show them who you are. You gotta hit hard,
Well,
It's really
at
about
the end
that.
of the day, whether you hit the hit stick or take him down by his shoelaces, I'm pretty sure it goes down as a tackle.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes, sir.
you got to make sure that
Team tackle, no matter what, he's going down.
So you found yourself, you're playing a little bit of slot, a couple rushing yards, couple rushing attempts.
Yep.
What are some of the things that you tried to make sure you were improving on coming into this year?
Holding the ball for sure. if you watched our game, I think it was last year against Wyndham home. I probably fumbled 3 times.
Yikes.
I'm not gonna lie. I probably fumbled 3 times. So Crossing getting on me for that. Always saying hold that ball tight. Hold all 3 points. You always want to make sure you just don't fumble it. That's number 1. Number 2, jumping up for that ball because the ball ain't gonna come to you. You got to go to the ball. You always have to make an effort to get to the ball. Breaking on the ball for sure. Footwork. It's one thing you really got to work on as a DB, receiver, slot. It's hard. It's really hard work, but it pays off.
So, working on the off-season stuff, but, there are 3 other seasons in this year. What are some other sports that you play as a PV Laker?
Well, I play baseball. That's one, but I did track and wrestling, but I don't really know if I'm going to do those anymore. But I really love baseball. It's really something I love.
So what sort of things with baseball kind of, crossover into that football game? Is it the mental toughness? I mean, obviously, when you're talking footwork, you're probably talking track, strength, you're probably talking wrestling.
Teamwork.
It's the teamwork.
Yeah, especially, I think teamwork is a lot of sports. You got to have a good, strong team, communication. You guys got to have a bond, brotherhood. It's what
Absolutely.
It is, brotherhood. If you don't like your brothers, I mean, you're not really going to have a good team, You're not going to get along. So you really got to work hard to make everyone feel like they fit in,
Well,
Make
yeah, I
everyone
mean, you
feel like
talk
they're a
about
team.
you talk about brotherhood, and I see about 90% of the touchdowns scored in PV in the last 5 years sitting right here in this dining room right here amongst a bunch of guys coming down. So you guys always make sure you support each other.
Yes, sir.
But
you
come in this year as a junior.
Mhm.
Sophomore year, you're proving yourself, trying to find yourself on a very talented team, as well. Earning that varsity letter at PV
Feels amazing.
There's a lot of work to get done on that. But what was something that changed coming into this junior year, whether it be leadership or trying to maintain yourself, making sure the underclassmen understand what it means to be a Laker?
Yeah, I would definitely say working on my leadership is definitely a big thing. Because coming in as a junior, you really got to show who you are. You got to be respectful. You don't want to be the dumb. I don't want to say dumb. You don't want to be the goofball junior. Because kids look up to you. The younger kids, elementary school, they come to the games, they watch, they want to know they want to know what's going on. They want to fit in. You gotta make sure they fit in. That's really it.
So, what you guys have obviously started the season well, maybe not exactly. I'm sure that Coach Croston in films probably found a couple things that you guys didn't necessarily want to let happen. I'll tell you, 27 points on on PV defense. They must have had to fight tooth and nail for every one of those.
Yeah.
But what are some things that you are looking forward to getting accomplished this year?
I definitely want to say lifting more, being able to push myself past my limits. At practice, being able to run longer, being able to stay at practice longer. Being able to just work harder longer, do stuff for longer to get more mental reps in, get more physical reps in. Yeah.
So, I'm going to throw you a little curveball here. We didn't
That's
necessarily go over this question before, but, Pymatooning Valley has what has become a unique field to play on now, in that you guys are playing on natural grass. And shout out to the grounds crew out there, because rain or snow or shine or whatever, that field's always ready to play on.
Yep.
But obviously you guys have gotten to play on the turf as well. Now you're a skilled guy, so I don't know how this is going to go, but which one do you like playing on more? I know there's home cooking in Andover, but sometimes turf is pretty cool.
I agree. I think turf is pretty cool. I think it's soft, cushiony. It's all right, but the in the long run, it's falling on it and getting turf burn, turf monster. He'll get you. That's my only main problem. It's the turf burn, and then it's the little black beads.
Yeah,
They
whatever
always,
the rubber thing or whatever
they
that
get in your
is.
shoes. They get in my mouth. I don't know how that happens. Like it's crazy. I definitely want to say grass though. It has to be low grass because if it's tall, it trips you up.
Yeah.
Got to be low cut grass. It's just nothing beats nice, perfect, natural grass.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I that question is always interesting to me when you're asking because a lot of times the running backs they're good on grass. It can be 4 foot tall for all they care.
Yeah.
But as a defensive back, you got to get out there. You got to get running, get those hips open. It's a little harder to do if you need a brush hog, right?
Yeah, definitely. Get all the extra grass up. Whatever it takes.
So every game matters. Every single
Yes,
game. You guys have 10 of them on the schedule, but some games stand out.
Yes.
And which of those games this year stand out to you, or have you already played it?
One of them definitely was Mineral Ridge. I was definitely waiting for that game one. That was definitely crazy. I'm excited for Jefferson. I want to see how that's gonna go. We have Cardinal next. I don't want to say anything yet. I want to see how that's gonna go.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about Cardinal getting ready to be a conference opponent next year as that NAC has grown every year. You've got the Battle of the Valley at the end of the year. Grand Valley with an incredibly strong showing there in that first week.
Thank you.
So that should be a great game. And I'll tell you what, I can't wait to watch you guys going. Stay off the internet because they're hyping you guys up. Let me tell you, I'm sure Coach Croston is going to keep both feet planted firmly on the ground because that's what they do at PV. But your week 1 player of the week is this guy right here. The get back was real. Mineral Ridge, he had a hard game last year, not so much this year. It's Jace Folkman, our week 1 player of the week.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.